Hi y'all, and thank you for being here at the Durham County Library today for our program on cooking and comics. My name is Wynn, I'm an adult services librarian here, and I have the pleasure to introduce Deborah Ulmer and Robin McLaughlin. Both of them are members of the Color of Fandom organization that we've worked with so many times over the years, and they are doing the presentation today. The first part of it will be Deborah teaching a little class, Introduction to Plant-Based Cooking. Following that, Robin and Deborah are going to talk about how sudden is it? When did it really explode? They'll get into all those details during the second part of the program, but there are a lot of food-based comics that have come out and gotten really popular in the last couple of years, and we're going to highlight a bunch of them. During the program, there are little handouts that we're going to see. We can get to your hands, recipe cards for a lot of what Deborah's going to be talking about during the program. And afterwards, please do come up and get flyers for our upcoming programs, November program events, and a book list, which has a selection of the 24 titles that we put together from the library's catalog. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to women next week. Make some noise in the library while you can. Hold it for a second. I'm sorry, I thought you were leaving.
Some are smaller than others, so if you have good eyes, take small, please.
Hi, please bear with me. I don't do cooking classes that often anymore, so. Sorry, Deborah. I own and operate Dee's Kitchen, Sweet Treats, Vegan Eats. I have a kitchen that I cook out of, and then I do markets and events on the weekends, and I sell in coffee shops and juice bars and small restaurants in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill throughout the week. I started these as a conventional bakery in 2008, and then when I became vegan in 2014, I flipped it all over and rebranded to what it is today. Today we're going to be talking about just a little 101 on plant-based eating and cooking. The reason I became plant-based was because I was working for Whole Foods at the time, and they had a program where they sent employees could apply, and they sent you to a week-long immersion, which was sponsored by the Institute. And so after that, I never went back, because I went for health. And then I eventually grew to became to become fully vegan after that. The basics of plant-based cooking. How many are in here are fully plant-based or vegan? Okay. How many are like what we call flexitarians? Back and forth. How many are in here just to learn about? Okay, great. So the food essentials for plant-based centers around eating whole plant derived foods and avoiding animal products, which is a little bit different from being fully just vegan eating, because it is kind of like Oreos or fries are technically vegan, but they aren't whole food plant-based. So the food essentials for being plant-based are fruits and vegetables, which are self-explanatory. Please experiment with all the fruits and vegetables. At least try them once. And there are ways to cook them too. And then whole grains. I have visuals because I like visuals. And I'm a visual learner. So whole grains are, I have here a whole grain basmati rice. And then I bake with whole wheat pastry flour. And then I also, when I transitioned Dee's Kitchen into being plant-based, I discovered I got a lot of people with allergies. And then I have a lot of allergen needs in my family too. So I made sure I centered on being completely allergy friendly. I have at least one thing for everybody to have a treat. So I do a lot of gluten-free and nut-free items. And I use gluten-free whole grain oats. And then for a couple of my products, I use sorghum flour, which is a whole grain, but it is gluten-free. And then quinoa, barley, farro, couscous, really easy to cook up. And then we move on to legumes and beans, lentils, dal, split peas, chickpeas are great. And they can make a whole bunch of things like hummus and stews and things like that. Nuts and seeds. And also when I do presentations, I like them to be interactive too. It helps me too. So if anybody has any comments, questions, anything like that when I'm talking, you can. Okay.
What is dal? D-A-L.
Dal is split peas, and it's used in a lot of Indian cooking. And you can make a dish with it. Yeah.
When you get like chickpeas in a can, they have like that kind of liquid with them. It's called aquafaba, right?
Yes.
I know you can use that as like a substitute for like egg whites. Do you know anything else you can do with that?
You can use it as you can use it as to whip up for, well, yeah, basically for anything that uses eggs, or whip, anything that you need for
Meringue or something?
like a meringue, or, yeah, but just
She
basically
said mayonnaise.
mayonnaise, yeah. Anybody else?
Where do you stand on pearl couscous
Moroccan.
Oh, these are more questions I didn't expect. All right.
There's no wrong answer. I was just curious what your preference was.
Moroccan couscous. Yeah. Yeah. It may just be a texture thing, though. Yes. And okay, so then we'll move on to nuts and seeds. We have here we have almonds and walnuts, hemp seeds, which are a really good superfood too. You can just sprinkle them anywhere. I don't have chia seeds here, but and then pure nut butters. I use nut butters that don't have anything added to them. They don't have, it's just the nut. Doesn't have any salt, any oils, any sugar, any extra oils or sugar added to them. This peanut butter company I discovered a few years ago is called Crazy Richards, and it's woman-owned. And I really like how they added, like throughout the years, they added when a product is, they have the woman-owned stamp on it. And a lot of products now have a vegan stamp on it too. So it's really, really good and easy to identify. Plant-based proteins. Oh, actually also too, because I want to talk about my allergy too, allergy-friendly stuff too. I use tahini for people who have nut allergies. It's a sesame seed. Derived from sesame seeds. My niece has a really, really severe nut allergy, so I started trying to research and things like that for people who have nut allergies. And then I don't, in plant-based eating, you want to use as less oil as possible. I don't use any extracted oils in my baking. But like if I'm cooking, I may use a little bit of oil or spray. So today I'm going to be using olive oil spray.
Question, Ken, when you say extracted oils, what does that mean and what are you using today?
Extracted oils are any oils that come from the plant in liquid form. I use fruit purees or a nut butter or a seed butter for baking.
Oh, okay, but for cooking you'll use oils.
Sometimes, a lot of times for cooking, if you get the pan hot enough, put a little bit of water in it, you can saute. If you constantly, you can kind of, saute. Especially if you're using like a ceramic pan. But like if you have like a cast iron skillet, it'll be seasoned. But you can cook with just a little spray or no oil.
Is coconut oil part of that? Because I see a lot of plant-based recipes use coconut oil. Does that count as an extracted oil?
If you get raw coconut oil, or raw coconut oil, it's better than.
What are your thoughts on coconut oil? It has a lower smoke point.
Has a high smoke point.
That's high smoke.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So
It
low. You want it to not. I've made that mistake when I first started cooking. Yeah, with coconut oil. But yeah. You want to watch it. It heats up real quick. We have plant-based proteins. I'm going to be using tofu in my dish, and then there's tempeh, which is fermented soybeans, and seitan, which is a protein substitute made from wheat gluten. And then you can make all kinds of things like I've made like a mimic ham roast, or because you can season it all kinds of ways you want to. I've made like mimic ribs or to cook on the grill. So it's very, very versatile. This right here is a textured soy protein. It's just dried soy, and you can make it reconstitute it in water, and then use it for like a substitute for like ground beef and things like this, or spaghetti or tacos. And not listed is seasonings and flavorings that you can basically mimic anything you want to eat for a flavor profile. You have all your vinegars are your friends. I love vinegar. I use, instead of soy sauce, I use liquid aminos for, it doesn't have as high as sodium content, but I hardly ever use salt. I do sometimes, but I use aminos. And if you are like sensitive to soy, they also have coconut aminos too. And then, yeah, all the spices, sea salt. And then the nickname for vegans, I have a sticker on my car that says Nooch goes on everything, but it's called nutritional yeast, which it mimics cheese flavor. So this generally goes on everything.
Where do you get your nutritional yeast? Where do you get your nutritional yeast? Because I assume you buy a lot of it, right?
Yes. I don't, because I shop in just like 3 different stores, I just usually just get the Bragg's nutritional yeast. I'm pretty sure it's in bulk somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, all the stores carry the Bragg's. So, and then you want to make sure, because sometimes you have to get in the habit of reading labels too, because even when it says like vegan or plant-based, they add things that have additives in them. So you want to make sure you get things that have less amount of additives. Like this, actually got this from last Veg Fest I did. So it got donated from some local vendors, but it's just dry nutritional yeast. Plant-based substitutes for milk. We have soy, almond, oat, hemp, pea, and coconut, especially the latter ones for people who have nut allergies. Also in that, you want to read your labels, especially if you have allergies. Some of the milks have oils in them also, so you want to make sure, like this Pacific brand is just the oats, and a little bit of legumes and sauce, just for preservative reasons, but it doesn't have any extra oils. Then for eggs substitute, other than avocado, I have flax seeds, chia seeds, applesauce. Like I said before, bananas, pumpkin, depending on the recipe, especially for baking. Flax seeds and chia seeds, you could make a gel, soak them in water, make a gel, and then that can be used as a substitute. It doesn't have any flavor, and so it can be used as a substitute in a lot of dishes. For honey, I mainly use maple and agave. I have some products that have just dates, soaked dates, grind them up and make a paste out of them. They also do sell date syrup. And I also use molasses too, like in its purest form, not no sulfates or anything. And then I use, when I do use sugar, I use raw sugar. Because and to make sure that it doesn't, a lot of regular sugars or just plain white sugar is grinded with bone char, and that's how they get it granulated like that. So all sugars aren't plant-based because of that. So that's why I just make sure I use the raw sugar. Then you turn around the label and look to see, the certified.
What are your thoughts on the fake sugar, like monk fruit or stevia?
Substitute. It has more, I just say use it sparingly if you do use it. Monk fruit is good. I mean, if it's pure, because it's just, and you have to look at the label to see if any other chemicals are added to it. So that's just the key in those. So, not like the sweet and all that. That's all chemicals. In dairy, cashew cheese. You can make your own cashew cheese sauce. You can use it like for nachos and things like that. It's generally like soaked cashews, hot in a blender, blend them up, and then you can like add like some vegetable. Generally, like a cashew cheese is like carrots, onions, boil them down real. Add your nutritional yeast, mix them up, blend them up. And cook it, and then it cooks until it's thickened, and then you can use it to freeze it. Coconut cream, coconut milk. I use coconut cream to make my icings. It blends up, it's thick, so it blends up really well. Also, for my nut allergy people, they do have an oat whipping cream on the market too, that you can use for anything that calls for whipping cream. And the meat substitutes to get like the texture you want, but you want to use like a lot of soy products and things like that. You use jackfruit. Make sure it's not the jackfruit in syrup. You just want the young jackfruit, and you can get it from a can or fresh. You can make all kinds of things. You can make like crab dip or barbecue. A lot of people make jackfruit barbecue. Wow. Really good. Mushrooms also have a meaty texture to it. And there are so many varieties of mushrooms you can experiment with.
The king oyster mushroom is actually very similar to the jackfruit in texture. It's good for like pulled pork.
Oh.
Yeah, you can get those from the Asian market.
Yeah, yes.
what do you do for powdered sugar in your icing?
So there's a powdered sugar that I use that is certified vegan.
Do you know the brand name?
Actually, it's not. It is actually a 365 brand.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I'm pretty sure there are, just because when I left Whole Foods, I stick with Whole Foods, so that's why, I'm not trying to cap for Whole Foods, it's just, I use a lot, I still shop there, so I use a lot of their, and they do put vegan on their products, so that's why I just still use their products, but I'm pretty sure if you research, there are other brands
Okay.
but I do know that the 365 brand is vegan powdered sugar.
Couldn't you technically make raw sugar into powdered sugar if it's fine?
It's
Yeah,
hard.
it's really
It's
fine.
hard. It always
It
comes
is,
out
yes.
grainy for me.
Oh, really?
Like, because the grinding it up, it heats the sugar, and then the sugar like
yeah.
melts a little, and it doesn't do it consistently. So it's better to buy.
And then, and lentils. Lentils also serve a good texture. You can make burgers and things like that from lentil. And then, plant-based brands, because of the way my lifestyle is right now, I try to cook as much as I can, but on an occasion, it's easier to, reach for something that is, and in the last, I'm 10 years plant-based vegan, but even in the last 5 years, there's a lot of stuff that's come on the market to make it easier, like for transition, or if you want, if you are a strictly plant-based or a raw vegan, but you want to treat yourself, sometimes there are go-to things that you can eat. For proteins and meats, these are some of Dr. Preggers is like the closest thing you can get on the market that's like whole food plant-based. It doesn't have anything hardly added to it. It's just the plants and the spices. Some of the things like on the end you want to eat sparingly, like Impossible and Beyond. I mean, they are made in the lab, but they still are, strictly vegan. Jack and Ann's is a newer brand, but it's jackfruit based.
Oh. That's it.
I've gotten it. You can probably get it in other places, but not at Whole Foods. And then for dairy, milk, like I said, Pacific, I have here, I love spice, but Khalifa is good. This is almond milk, but you can go traditional, with the silk, kind of like almost the first ones on the market. They got real big. And then an almond breeze. Those two you can generally find anywhere. For cheese, follow your heart on the cost-effective end of the spectrum. Follow your heart and buy life are usually really cost-effective. If you really, really want to treat yourself, Nico is a really, really good as far as like to get the closest to cheese, the melting point. is really, really good. But all of these brands are constantly improving, because a lot of people, when they say, almost vegan or, almost fully plant-based, cheese is what stops them. And these brands, every time I go get them, they're always saying new and improved. So they know their market, and they're always constantly improving the melting point and the flavor and things like that. So, and also for ice cream too. They're always improving. There are always new ice creams coming on the market and things like that.
It's so delicious is really good.
Yeah.
Ben and Jerry's also has oat milk ice cream that's like better than the dairy ice cream.
Yeah. And like for me, like I don't drink or a lot of soy, so like especially for dairy, I do a lot of oats, especially oats, because they're naturally sweet. You don't have to. That's why I use oat milk that is just plain oat milk, because it's naturally sweet, so you don't have to add sugar to it or almond milk.
Do any of these brands have like small sample size? Because I've tried to get it before and I end up with like a half a gallon of milk that I don't like. So I don't want to throw this out, but
They don't.
they all have
Unfortunately. Yeah. And on the other, I use, Just Egg is made out of a mungine protein. Comes in liquid form, so you can make like omelets and things like that, or they have I use these for breakfast sandwiches on the weekends when I go to work. Kite Hill makes a lot of the dairy-free dips. This is queso. They make Spanish dip and things like that from almond milk. If you absolutely want to use a butter substitute, Earth Balance. There's some of the traditional brands that are starting doing plant-based. I get made out of avocado oil if I'm making something for my niece. Country Crock, they have a plant-based avocado oil butter if you absolutely want to use, or a butter substitute. Snacks, like for trips or cons, things like that. Hippies is like Cheetos. And the Smart Sweets, Partake, Sweet Lauren, they are all woman-based, woman-owned food brands that have come on the market in the last 4 years. If you really, really want something sweet and don't want to make it yourself. Made Good, they do breakfast snacks or Rice Krispie treat bars. I pack a lot of those for cons. Daya is they started just with cheese. They did branch out to do meals too. They have pizzas and flatbreads. And for the flatbread for this, the plant-based chicken that they make is from peas, oats, and rice. So it's not no soy in it. And City is they make tortillas and all different brands. Uptons, they actually have flavored jackfruit. So if you don't want to go through making the jackfruit barbecue from scratch or just the jackfruit from seasoned jackfruit from tacos, they have it, and then they have also soups. This one is chicken tortilla. They have the chicken and things like that. And then you can find, like, if you want noodles. I mean, if you're watching your sodium, you can just make sure you look at the sodium content. But a lot of these things are lower in sodium than like the traditional Campbell's and things like that. Also, too, one thing for like the beans, if you get canned beans, I get the ones that say no salt added. Too. But yeah, for the meals, what I have Amy's kitchen. Just make sure, because Amy's is they're a vegetarian and vegan brand, so you just make sure it says dairy free on it, because they do have some vegetarian meals too. Purple carrot, sardine, if possible, just like the burgers, they also started making bowls and meals. And Alpha Foods, they make like a lot of go-to burritos. Yes, pop it in the microwave. Anybody else have any questions on substitutes?
I don't have a question, but I have a recommendation.
Okay.
Morningstar, they have a lot of stuff, and it's almost always on sale. Like, whenever I go, they're always on sale at Harris Teeter. And like their corn dogs and their breakfast sausages, I use in chili. Really, really good.
Yeah, I did forget to put that on there, but I flip-flop between Morningstar and the Impossible sausages.
Yeah.
And the field roast. They make really good sausage links. And like for breakfast sausage links and like regular links. To make like sausages. Okay. Basic meal prep. Plan your meals out if you're just cooking from scratch. Choose your recipe for the week. Make sure you have a good balance of foods. Write out your recipes. And make sure you have ingredients that can be used in like different recipes throughout the week. Grocery shopping, make a list based on your planned meals and snacks. And like the rule of thumb is you want most of your meals to have the ingredients, on the outside, what they say on the outside of your grocery store. I mean, inside on the outer edges. Most of the prepackaged foods are on the inside, so you want to shop. And mainly your produce section. And then buy in bulk whenever possible, especially like if you're doing a lot of both rices and beans and things like that. I had this bag was made out of both chickpeas. So the chickpeas are made, and then made like 4 freezer bags full, and then use it for all different types of recipes. And batch cooking is really important. Especially most people have busy lives, you batch cook, only have like 1 day to cook a week. So if you like to eat the same thing every day of the week, or if you want to choose like 3 or so recipes, You can batch cut. Again, like the chickpeas, I put these in the Instapot and filled the whole pot, and then froze them, and then I can pull them out anytime I want to make a week's worth of dish. And like I said, Instapot, crock pot, air fryer. We have one of those Ninja air fryers. Oh, it's like an air fryer and a broiler and a conventional oven all in one. So it just makes it faster and easier to cook with.
I would add to that, a good food processor is really important because when you are grinding up like your lentils to make patties out of it, you're making your cashew cheese or whatever, like I couldn't get around, or even if you just want to make your own salsas and things like that and stop doing prepackaged stuff as much, you really need that.
Yes.
Solid.
Yes, thank you. And when I was trying to think of everything, yes, because that's what I use, especially to make, like in my baking, to make my date paste, things like that. You want to make sure things are grinded up really good. And storing techniques, refrigeration or freezing, you can look up to see how long things last, how long you want, how fast you're going to use them, and what freezes good and what doesn't. And that determines what you want to make for your meals for the week or to batch cook. Like beans, they freeze real well. And we can freeze, like especially if you're doing like smoothies and stuff like that, freezing fresh fruits, cut up fresh fruits, and cut up veggies to freeze, and then to put in your soups and stews and things like that. And I had only visual I brought for is I use this for a steamer. But they have, I used to have a bamboo steamer, I gave away as a gift, but you can put this over your pot and steam fresh vegetables. And storage, at best, you want to use glass storage, when they don't stain like plastic. And date and label, so you know when your things go bad or what exactly it is. For instance, like I make a lot of different flavored icing. Some of them do look the same.
Yeah.
So I have to know what type of icing it is. Before I do a cooking demo, does anybody have any questions about or comments?
I saw you were talking about pressing your tofu. Did you ever freeze it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do freeze it. And you can also marinate it and then freeze it also. And then take it out.
Freeze what?
Tofu.
Oh.
I used to press it all the time, but it took too long, and I found that freezing it actually helps me get the moisture out a lot easier. So just want to mention that.
And there's Instagram of people, I think they're called vegan punks, and they have been experimenting with the best ways to extract water. They say boiling is even better than freezing, but also recently in the last week, microwaving is better than boiling. And they actually will weigh the tofu and calculate how much it weighs before and after to show you how much water got removed. It's fascinating.
I think you want to get a bowl that's like a hyper time so
I don't know. But I'm about to start microwaving now.
Yeah, because I'm about to demonstrate the old school way of pressing it for the class. But, yeah. No, I mean it's fine. I'm about to start cooking.
What are you cooking, by the way?
I am, okay, so, I'm cooking a dish.
Take it.
I can look it up.
So there's a graphic novel. Most of my cooking graphic novels are from that have been gifted by my friend Robin. But this one is, which we're going to talk about in the second half, but it's called Short Order Crooks. The main character is a vegetarian, so most of the recipes in here are vegan. And the recipe that I'm going to do today is on your program. It's on the back. It's called, she named it my standard split apple breakfast, but it's called split apple because she lives in a group of community home, and that's the name of the home. So it's like it's the home breakfast, but the dish is a southwestern tofu scramble. So that's what I'm going to be demoing today.
So if you have a soy allergy, what would you do instead of the tofu in this circumstance?
They do make non-soy tofu. Yes. On the market. Yes.
So you're starting with your, what's that, prepackaged tofu? Is that what that is?
Yeah. I have firm, most of the ones that you find in the grocery store, regular grocery stores, probably not, like in the Asian markets, you could probably find medium, but the main ones you find in the regular conventional grocery stores are silken, which is used for like pudding and
Cheesecake.
cheesecake. And to put in like smoothies. And then you have firm and extra firm. In the book it says medium, but I have firm, closest to medium. It's just the texture thing and what you want to use it for. Because medium and firm may cook up well as far as like making scrambles and things like that. Extra firm if you want to make marinate it and make it into, cut them up slices and then make it into like tofu bites, or cube them to add to rice and noodle dishes, or bake them, saute them, bake them for your dishes, and they bake up hard, or batter them and fry them, or like batter them and put them in an air fryer. If you want to make it like a chicken nugget or something like that.
So firm is for meat substitutes and silken is for liquid type dishes?
Yeah, I think.
What is the non-tofu, non-soy tofu made of? What's one of the main ingredients?
I should have wrote it down because I did just see one.
Can it be found at Whole Foods?
I found, yeah, it was a couple of them at Whole Foods. Chickpeas.
Some pumpkin seed ones too.
Chickpea, okay.
So you said chickpeas and pumpkin seeds, is that?
Yep, that's what I've seen.
I'm looking for products because the toy, you know, for my digestive system, I have to use an enzyme. A lot of the, I'm a vegetarian, a lot of the stuff is, you know, cause problems with digestion. And so I'm trying to find something that's not soy.
I tried the Durham Co-op too, has a lot of options for that. The Durham Co-op.
Have you ever heard of Seitan? Seitan?
Seitan, I have not used that, but I.
It's based on either pea, chickpea, or
The
other
chickpea
type
can
of
be
thing where you
hard
get it
to
very
on my
creamy, but then you
digestive.
dry it.
Okay.
And so it can be your other type of protein. Because we have a similar problem with soy.
And I think I saw Seitan in one of your slides too, Deborah.
It is.
What is Seitan again?
It is it's made from wheat gluten.
Oh, okay.
So if you have gluten allergy, you don't want to use seitan, but yeah, it's
A soy substitute?
a soy substitute. But I wrap. So the very old school way to press, they do also make presses too that you can buy, but I wrapped it twice in a paper towel, and then you put something you can use if you have like a really heavy skillet or cutting board. I just use a bowl. Oh, yeah. And then I put cans on top to press it down with. To get
What's the point of pressing?
to get all the moisture out, because they soak it in water to preserve it. But you want to get, if you're doing it in cooking, especially like you're making, if you want to mimic the meat, or in this case, mimicking eggs, you want to get as much moisture out as you can, so it scrambles up good.
You have a question, Deborah?
Are the tofu presses worth it?
I have it all, and so anybody?
Yeah, I think so.
It is.
They were-
If you're gonna press your tofu, I think so. Okay.
You can adjust the weight on those, you know, it's like 3 different tiers of the one I got. It wasn't very expensive.
Yeah.
If you press, you recommend having it?
I have one.
You like it? I think you find it better than just.
That's what I.
I don't
That's not my
understand.
phone. I mean, this is my phone, but it's not ringing.
Because it's, I mean, that's unusual.
Do we have bell pepper? All my vegetables have been
I guess because I like to say that.
What do you wash them with, just water or?
Yeah, I mean, well, you can do a solution. If you buy, or it depends on what you buy, even if it's still like organic, you still can wash them in like, it's like a vinegar solution. Or just real good clean, water. But if you get a lot, I sell at farmers markets, so I buy a lot of my produce from farmers markets, because it is very hard to get and expensive to get organic, certified organic certification. There is a lot of local farmers that they are organic, but they just don't they can't say they're certified. So it is, to support, your local, to your farmers markets.
So Deborah, what are some of your earliest memories of cooking, and how did you get started as a baker?
I grew up in the South. I was born and raised here. My family is from South Carolina.
So I have a family on both sides that are full of cooks. I compost too, so these are not what compost are bad. Yeah.
So how did you start like baking and cooking as like a business?
I've baked since I had my easy bake oven. When I was little, I also was, I think between my family and I was in an after-school program when I was younger. My family's from South Carolina, but I'm from Raleigh. And they put me in an after-school program that they had a cooking class as part of the after-school program. And so I think between those two things that really, sparked my interest in cooking. And then I used to experiment with my easy bake oven, from scratch. I mean, the cookies weren't that good because all I knew to remember at 7 was flour and sugar. But just from there, I loved cooking, and then when you think you want to do a whole bunch of things, and I think by the time I got into the 11th grade, I knew that I wanted to be a chef, and I started all of my, I worked at Dunkin' Donuts and Perkins at the time, and then after being in restaurants and things like that, I discovered that I didn't want to be a chef for a living. I wanted to be a baker.
Can y'all see what she's doing? I can do that stuff.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Because I love baking more, I saw that how taxing it was to be just a chef.
Yeah.
Then I decided to, when I decided to go to culinary school, I was like, I found at the time only most of the culinary schools we went to were just for just chefs. But then I did find one that was just for baking. You could get your degree in baking and pastry, and I was like, that's it. And I like making people happy too, and people get a lot of joy from eating baked goods. So that's why I decided just to cook, and then just to do baking. I also I decided that when I was a senior, and so my school offered a entrepreneurship elective, and so I technically started Dee's Kitchen in 12th grade. Wow. Because I used that as my project to start an entrepreneurship class. So I was already, that taught me to taking orders from teachers and students. And making cupcakes and cookie hats and stuff like that from them. And then I went to college to retire. one thing, cut out dairy. Because it's so inflammatory. And like from the casein and cheese and the way the milk, it builds up mucus. So I breathe a lot better from not having dairy. Also, a lot of inflammation. A lot of diseases are from inflammation, and so that's why you want to cut out or avoid dairy to help, especially with asthma, eczema, all types of aches and pains in your body. I loved to cook at the time. I mean, I still do, but it's just my time is limited too. But so it was kind of easier for me to transition, because like when I found that when I found after I got out of the program, I was like, oh, I gotta come home and cook. I looked at research online and YouTube and things like that, and just found a whole bunch of dishes and easy things. And in the program, they taught us all this. They taught us the batch cook and everything like that. So, like I had, some of the starting tools and stuff like that, to cook. And then I joined like a lot of vegan groups and things like that. And so I built my support system real quick on that. Now my family, I mean, like I'm single and don't have any kids, but like my brothers and nieces and nephews and things like that. When I went to functions, that was kind of hard at first. I would bring my own stuff. Now, like my sister-in-law for Thanksgiving, she makes like a whole meal for me now. I think that was the biggest challenge, to like go to events and functions. Always having to bring stuff, or make sure things that are. I've been lucky enough that my friends have been like very to be very, very positive and accepting of me. Most of my friends kind of happened at the same time, me becoming vegan and me like fully entering like the like I guess geek world and finding the friends that I have now all kind of happened at the same time. So everybody was like accepting, and I'm kind of like, I don't like to like preach, what I do or what I believe. So like I didn't never be like, oh, I'm vegan, you have to do this, or you have to go to these restaurants and things like that. But I mean, they made sure they would come with me, or they made sure they looked out that I had something to eat. I'm sorry, did I answer your question good?
Yes, absolutely.
Speaking of that too, I remember when we would go out before, we tried to find restaurants and stuff like that had vegan options, try to follow your lead. Tell us about like some of your favorite vegan options at restaurants, or favorite vegan restaurants here in the Triangle. Because you delivered to Pure Soul, right? On 5501. What are some others? Or tell us about that one too. Huh? What you did?
Just for, we get these cut up.
Yeah.
And go ahead and talk about some of the experiences with me.
Oh,
As far as, yeah, just cause so I can, cause sometimes I do get distracted as far as talking and not,
Yeah.
you know,
I understand.
doing. But,
So I will say that, you know, the thing that makes it easier to kind of follow your lead is, you know, you being experienced and having options of things that you know that we will want to eat. I don't consider myself a picky eater, but what am I doing now?
oh, just talking while I cut and stuff. Just
I thought you said cut that. I was
Oh,
ready
no,
to go.
no,
Shit,
no.
Wipe my hands and everything. Well, at least I got my hands. Okay. So, let me see.
Or in some of the, but yeah.
Yeah, what experience do you have with vegan restaurants and vegan
So-
options?
Mainly trying to follow Deborah's lead, because I'm what she previously called flexitarian, yeah. One of the things I'm trying to learn how to do is identify flavor profiles, because that's one thing that Deborah talked about before. And if you have more that you want to add to that as well, there are comfort foods that I think that a lot of us that are used to eating, eating meat, gravitate towards. Like for me, is like salty, savory. So trying to find out and figure out some of those that replace those, and almost like working backwards. Because I feel like, Deborah, for your experience, and some of you in the audience too seem like you have a lot of experience with vegan cooking and flavor profiles, where I feel like you worked forward, where you learn the ingredients, figure out what some of the textures are, and create the meals, where I'm in the process of working backwards. Like, I'm really a comfort food eater, so I'm trying to think of the things that I always gravitate towards, you know. If I'm stressed, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I just want to sit down to a good meal. What are the things that I sit down and eat? I think you mentioned Morningstar. One of the people mentioned Morningstar. One of my favorite things for, I call it second breakfast. I try to eat like a sausage patty with toast and jelly. So finding sausage replacements, finding healthier options for jams and jellies, and working backwards in that fashion. So now my next adventure is to try to figure out cheese replacements. Because even though I like some of the flavors, the textures are still where I get hung up. And Deborah's made a cheeseburger one time, and I was like, this is good. And also getting over the hang-ups of expecting it to taste one for one, like meat. So I'm trying to also work with vegan and vegetarian foods where I like this specific taste, this flavor profile, and then deconstruct that and figure that out. Because, like, for Deborah, cooking brings her joy. It does not bring me joy. I'm lazy. I want to sit down and eat. So that's why I'm trying to learn how to work backwards from a food that I already like and can figure out how to deconstruct it, as opposed to, you know, learning the science of the food and what works together and putting it together.
I think that's the hardest part, is because, like, if you want a burger, you'll eat a lentil burger and you're like, but it doesn't taste like a hamburger. It's like, well, it's lentil, like, it doesn't have, and like, the lentils are good in their own right, you know, you have to appreciate them for what they are, and not because it has the potential to taste like a beef hamburger, you know, I think, and that's what's hard for people, is not, like, you have to learn to appreciate the food for what it is, as opposed to like what it could possibly mimic if you do the exact right things to it. And I think that, you know, the idea of, that's why like Impossible Burger and stuff like that became so exciting for me, because like, oh, it actually like, it's meant to like bleed, like, you know, and it's like they made it so that it's like, but that I feel like is, like, I would much rather have a black bean burger than an Impossible Burger, just because, like, what's the point of trying to mimic the meat? Like, just enjoy the alternative for what it is.
Yeah, that's part of where I'm getting to as well. Because trying to think of the foods specifically, I realized that I was gravitating towards things with pesto. And so then I found vegetarian and vegan pre-made meals that center pesto. So I was like, oh, well, let me try those. And so now that I have those meals, working backwards from there to try to figure out how I can get other plant-based meals with pesto at the center.
You know, one problem I find with products that she was demonstrating on, so much sodium
Yeah.
in a lot of the food. And that, and when I became a vegetarian, I gave up salt, sugar, and all that. And so many products have so much sodium, especially the burgers and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And Dr. Craig, I was looking at this yesterday to see if he had to do Dr. Craig products. Yeah, still a lot of sodium. One pasta can have one patty can have 200 to 300 milligrams of sodium.
Yeah, it is. This is like, I don't know if I have a brain pan here, but like a lot of like the old school like Teflon, they come off. So this is like the ceramic pan or a cast iron skillet. Should have started this up earlier.
Can we talk more about the concept playing?
I'm sorry,
Can we
what?
talk more about the comics?
Oh, the comics? Yeah, well, we can if you want to while you're cooking. I can go over some of the comics while you're making the.
I was going to point out that it is currently 12:15. We do have the space until a little bit after 1 o'clock, but that was also supposed to be completed cleanup.
We can.
Combining the food prep with a little bit of the comic talk.
Yeah.
Oh, we can definitely do that, yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea, thank you.
But yeah, thank you. I was trying to plan this out, it was good.
And also, let's see.
Oh, I use bamboo, a lot of like wooden or bamboo and stuff, not to scratch.
We have a QR code at the end that you guys can scan for the slides. So if we miss anything in that, we can go over that part. Okay, so Deborah, you're definitely gonna have to help me out with the food adventures.
And you can come up here now. Oh, yeah, we can modify what we were doing. Yeah, just because I'm time.
Are you able to talk to some of these while you cook, or you want me to come back to this one? Are you able to talk while you cook, or you want me to come back to this one?
Oh, yeah, right. Switch to my notes. Sorry, this is the first time we've done it in this structure. I've only just done cooking classes, so like combining them. But this is a learning, you know. So,
Could we take a look at the Shorter Cooks book you have?
oh, yeah.
While you're talking, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You can pass it around too.
Oh, I just need 2 things. I need the recipe.
You want the?
No, you want to do that. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you can start up, yeah. Okay. Where we're the categories and, yeah.
So we broke it down into 5 categories. Food
Oh, sorry,
adventures.
before, I do have treats. Maybe y'all can have treats first. food. I have some of my Robin can help pass out I have these are all from Dee's Kitchen. I have for the nut allergy people. If you have nut allergies, I have snickerdoodles and chocolate chip cookies, and then I have peanut butter crispies, which are Reese's Rice Krispie treats. They're like my biggest sellers. And then I have Rocky Road fudge and triple chocolate brownies. So the nut free, and then the.
Can I help you like pass them around or something?
And then we do have napkins. So I was like, please, this is samples. I have a lot of samples. I should have done those earlier.
See, then you have snickerdoodles. What is that? Chocolate chip? Is that it?
Yeah.
Snickerdoodles, chocolate chip, peanut brownies, and what was the last one?
Chocolate brownies and Rocky Road fudge.
It's sugar and the,
Is there sugar in this?
Dates are.
They are, yes, there is raw sugar, but even in my products, I use it's not as much sugar as, yeah. But if you, I didn't bring, because I do have products that only use dates, but I didn't bring any of them. But yeah. But all my products do, when I do make them, they don't have as much sugar as if you were to get them. From the, yeah, the store.
Thank you to our lovely volunteer for helping to
Thank you.
pass that around. So talking about the comics, we did bring some at the front that we can also pass around so people can take a peek. But we split into 5 categories: food adventures, and those are basically an adventure that is centered on either cooking. A lot of times, like cooking is a superpower, or there's something about the food itself that is driving the adventure. And I'll come back to this one when we talk about the individual comics as well. So cooking and food techniques, these books predominantly focus on the more kind of like how-to manuals or cookbooks or cooking guides, but just in comic form. So that makes it a little easier to read for people like me who aren't really that into cooking, but need a little push to make things a little, stick in my mind a little bit because the visuals help there. So cooking history and culture, I think especially here in Western countries, a lot of times we don't consider, a lot of the origins of food and how food is really global, and a lot of how culture is centered on food. So that was the next category. And then chef memoirs and slice of life. So how people gather around cooking, how people center cooking as a way to connect with each other, with friends and family. And then the last category is romance. Love centered on cooking. So as the saying goes, the way to someone's heart is through their stomach. Okay, let's go back to, you want to start with the finish, or you want to start with
No, we can start.
Okay, so food adventures. So the one at the end, Short Order Crooks, is the one that the recipe comes from. And it says that on the card too, like Deborah mentioned before, the main character uses this recipe. And that's what Deborah's doing now, cooking. So you chop the carrots, chop the red peppers, and what is that, green onion that you're adding in there?
Garlic. I have a garlic press. Garlic. So what's the story behind Short Order Crooks? What are these characters getting into?
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry.
Because when we do presentations about books, we try to do almost like
Like a review, yeah.
We try not to, and it's hard for me because I want to say all about the book, but
We both love comics in general, but you guys should see Deborah's face light up when a chef is named. So what's the long and short of Short Order Crooks?
It is basically food truck crime scene. The main character, Rock, and he's a food truck owner that's not really successful right now. And then Harper is a vegetarian, and she kind of helps him, or she kind of took over his business to help him be successful. And then their lives start intertwining in adventures of
Hijinks ensue.
hijinks. Yes.
That's great.
So I can talk about Chew a little bit. So Chew is an older one. It actually was in talks for a TV show for a while, but then the pandemic happened and everything got tabled there. But the main character that you see on the cover, Tony Chew, has a food-based power. So all the characters in this story have food-based powers, food-based abilities. And he is what is called a civipath, meaning that if he tastes any food, he can get mental projections of the entire life stream of that food. So generally, like if he eats like an apple, then he can see like the orchard that it came from. If he eats a hamburger, he can see the cow out in pasture. So generally that drives a lot of his food choices, saying that he sees, the full extent of the life of the food. But he is a detective. So he uses that ability to be able to solve crimes. It is very fun, but also the art style is very quirky, a ton of fun. But heads up, even though it's food-based, don't read it while you're eating because it can get very disgusting.
I kind of call it like if Hannibal was like.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
knew it.
Yeah. He was nice and kind and, eat people for, sadistic reasons and things like that.
He's a physical psychic who works homicide. What do you think he eats?
Yeah.
So what'd you just put in the pan there?
I put the cumin and the turmeric. And the turmeric is a very good anti-inflammatory spice. So a lot of people take turmeric substitutes or put turmeric in a lot of to combat to be anti-inflammatory ailments that they have, flare-ups and things like that. And also people use turmeric for color. That's why I use it a lot in tofu scramble, kind of if you want to mimic the color of eggs. Or anything that you want to add just a little tinge of color to, and to add the health benefit, like in my lemon bars, I use turmeric.
Oh.
Yeah, just a little bit of turmeric, and for the color, to make so it would look like turmeric, and then it has the extra health benefit in it.
So in the interest of time, I'm gonna skip forward a little bit in the comics part while you keep cooking. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so cooking and food techniques, like you mentioned, these ones are predominantly about how to cook, how to understand cooking, which is why people like me definitely need these books. And Deborah, did you want to talk a little bit about Bake Like a Pro?
Oh my gosh, I wish I had this in school instead of our textbooks. Because they're like, it is like it is like a little, it's food science and comic cartoon characters. And so what it is wizard in school, main character she wants to go for an alchemy internship, but she gets stuck with the baker, hates it. But the baker enchants the ingredients to come alive, and so they can teach her baking. Actually, even the finished products are alive too. So everything, and it teaches baking science through the ingredient characters as cartoon characters, and like they even go through the molecules and how everything works together in a scientific way.
That sounds really fun.
It is.
And this one we have to eat, to drink, and to eat. I keep saying it backwards, eat and to drink and to eat. It is kind of like a mashup of a food blog and also kind of the how-to. The thing that I like about it as a person who is not that great with cooking is that it has these diagrams in here that show you like what foods are supposed to look like, how you can prepare them, the different flavor profiles of each of those. So that's one of the things that Deborah was talking about before, like the flavor profiles and everything. Because a lot of times I'll stand in the grocery store and I'm just completely overwhelmed because I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what I should be looking for. And so that's one of the things that I really like about this book as well. All right, so Deborah, you moved on to something else. You had that big block. What are you doing?
I am crumbling it up so it mimics scrambled eggs. Tofu, crumbled up fork. You can make it in the chunks as big or small as you want to.
And let me pass this one around.
And you see I pressed pressed as best as I can, but it is dry.
Oh, cool. And Let's Make Ramen is admittedly a little overwhelming for someone like me who isn't very adept at cooking, but for those of you who do have more cooking experience, that one, something like that, would probably be very helpful. It talks a lot about the history of ramen, and then it also talks about like the different types of ramen, specifically the broth and the ingredients that can be found in the broth. So it's very instructional, and for me, it's more aspirational because I will not be able to make any of those recipes anytime soon. You had a comment?
Could we see that book too?
Oh yes. Sorry. So we didn't Let's Make Ramen, but we did grab the follow-up, Let's Make Dumplings, which is very similar, but just for dumplings. So if anybody wants to see that, that's here as well.
Are they vegan?
These are, so these are just cooking books, yeah, specifically. So like for instance, that one had, fish in it. But I'm assuming, and Deborah can speak more to this, once you get the flavor profiles that are described, like in that book, then as you learn the flavor profiles that you can get from vegan, plant-based things, then you can figure out like how to substitute one to get the flavor that you're looking for. That's the next journey that I'm going to try to take, using those to try to figure out, 2 + 2 = 4 kind of thing.
And then in the books that we do have, the short, like I said, mentioned before, short order crooks, most of all those recipes are vegan, and in Cooking Like Your Ancestors, they're all vegetarian.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of that, that's the next slide. So cooking, history, and culture. So these are really interesting for people who
are just more into history as well as cooking. So these are really interesting for me from that aspect, especially learning about how global history comes together to make a lot of the foods that we're used to.
Pause and cook. I am getting to the last part of this. I'm a wimp when it comes to heat, so I use sriracha. Yeah. It's not as hot as the traditional hot sauces and stuff. This is a local one, just a local like vendor from a veg fest, but you can find srirachas anywhere. And then I'm gonna, which is not listed on there, but I'm gonna put nutrition for you.
Gotta put cheese.
So Yummy is super cute. I love cutesy things. And it has 3 sprites that take you through the history of different sweet desserts, like cookies, donuts, brownies, things like that. They tell you where they originated in the world, and at the beginning they have like an atlas of different foods to tell you like the different varieties of foods around the world. So I thought that was very interesting just from a historical context. And then they also have recipes in the end for all of the treats, and then you have like the sprites making the recipe, so you also get to see what things should look like, because a lot of times in recipes, if it's just the text, I'm looking at it and I'm like, is this what this is supposed to be doing? I don't know. But they have in there pictures of the sprites actually doing each of the steps, so you get to see, what it's supposed to look like. And then the next one, Cook Like Your Ancestors. I kind of love this because it took me back a little bit. It was very heartwarming. Even though I wasn't raised in the South, I have roots in the South. And so my grandmother and my stepmother are really great at cooking. And when I would ask, like, how do I make this? What is this? And I kid you not, my stepmother said, put a splash of milk. And I'm like, what the heck is that? What am I supposed to do with that? And she would always tell me, like, just sprinkle it till it looks right. That is literally what she said, until it looks right. That is part of the reason why to this day I can eat but not cook. I have great cooks in my family, but the knowledge just didn't translate to me. So that's one of the things about this book, and it teaches about instinctual cooking and using intuition for cooking, about thinking about how things make sense. And I think that's where the connectedness to understanding like food science and what things are supposed to do, and understanding the flavors and how strong things are help. Because this hand right here, that's my grandmother, that's my stepmother, using their hands to cook. I use mine to eat. So I'll pass that around. See that? Okay, so Chef Memoirs and Slice of Life. So this is back in my group because it's more just like stories. Some of these do include recipes. I just fast forward past that, folks. So relish is one of Deborah's favorites, so I'll let her talk about that. Yeah.
Relish. So relish was my very first, it came out in 2013. I didn't know they had comic or graphic novel based cooking. And so when I discovered relish, you can kind of show the book too. Like when it is a memoir of how the author grew up, and it's all in comic strip form of her life as a chef's daughter.
Do you need these bookmarks to be in there?
Huh?
Do you need the bookmarks to be
Oh,
in
no.
there? Oh,
Yeah.
I've already dropped it.
Oh, yeah. And her experiences. And then after that, the author's very first book is called French Silk and French Milk, and it is that is in comic form also, but it's just black and white, and it's her experience with her mother in their month and a half in France, and that has pictures and like it's kind of written out like a diary type way. Also, when she's talking about Chew too, that was the graphic novel we discovered together. That was like my like second or first like real comic book on cooking that I found too. And we met the author.
Yeah, we got to meet the,
Oh, great.
yeah, we got to meet the author. He went to, he was at both Heroes Con and NC Comic Con, so we got to meet him twice. But they also have a board game based on that, and we roped some of our friends into it. No one was quite excited as to do it. Playing that game.
What game?
Chew.
Chew?
Yeah.
It's called Chew? The board game? Okay.
We thought it was fun. But they had, you know, a lot of Easter eggs that related to the book. So like for instance, the miniatures are chogs. So if you've read the book, then you know what those are. You can still play the game and enjoy the game, but it's just like one of those Easter egg kind of things that makes it a little more fun. So Supper Club and Measuring Up. So Supper Club is about a group of friends who go into their senior year in high school, and they realize that they're not going to have any classes or activities that bring them together. So they create a supper club that they use as a reason to try to get together. So this is kind of one of those heartwarming things about people getting together around a table and just how food can connect family and friends. And Measuring Up is about a young Taiwanese girl. She's 12, I think, in the story. And she has recently moved to America, and her family had to leave her grandmother behind, and they were really close. Her grandmother is who she learned to cook from, and so she enters a cooking contest so that she can hopefully try to raise money to bring her grandmother to the States for a visit.
Oh, great. How many people would like a taste of the dish? And then how many people would want it on tortillas and I can. You have two?
Yeah, four.
How many would like a soy salsa?
I didn't know that.
Even one of these.
Been smelling it for so long.
Oh, yeah.
So should we have to go on that to get a plate, or how do you want to do it? Because are you going to serve people?
No, I was gonna just put, I mean, I was gonna kind of make the plates and then.
Yeah.
So she's in,
Does she make spoilers? Like he said?
Oh, no spoilers. Does it talk about how Taiwan was, during the Cultural Revolution of communism coming to power, like the books were anti-communist in Taiwan and stuff?
It's a kid's book, and it mainly focuses on the life of the girl here in the States. So it follows more her acclimating, as a new person in her middle school, who goes through a lot of the typical, hardships of a person being different, and then looking at her food choices, her cultural foods, and kids can be mean and things like that. So it's more focused on her life here in the U.S., centered around food and the types of foods that she makes and eats. And then also bringing those foods into the cooking competition as well, and kind of overcoming the hurdles that a lot of Western food systems and structures have to assume that European and Western type foods are more complicated, more elegant than
foods of Asian, African, South American cultures. So she does with that a lot in the book.
Oh.
Yeah, keep talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and the last slide is romance. So I can talk about basil and oregano. Deborah will have to talk about Bloom. Bloom features 2 bakers, so she was really feeling that one.
Oh, and we had Robin out for Color of Fandom. Robin hosts a book club. And we had Bloom for one of the book clubs. So that's how I discovered Bloom.
So basil and oregano is like a mashup. It's like white, magical girl, baker, romance, sapphic romance. So like it is a gumbo of all of the things. But so it follows a young girl who is a scholarship student. So all of their magic is like food-based magic. They use magic to make recipes and things like that. And the main character is a scholarship student who has to perform highly in order to maintain her scholarship. And then romance tropes galore. So her attitude is, you know, the rich girl who comes in and is just automatically wonderful and great and has this long legacy of kind of a privileged cooking empire background. And then of course they end up butting heads, but then they also fall in love. So no more spoilers. I mean, it's a romance, so the falling in love part shouldn't be too much of a spoiler.
Bloom is a story of a young man just got out of high school. He works for his father's bakery, but he really wants to travel with his band. And then, so they have to hire someone who loves baking and wants to go to school for it. And the son discovers his joy of baking and starting a romance with the So, and try not to get into any spoilers like that.